Hey everyone, it's your favorite dynamic team, Marcus, your favorite gentleman, and
Karmea Wells, the unorthodox Southern Belle.
we have an incredible guest tonight. We are so excited. But first, we're going to do some quick homework. You all are tuning in to the Gentleman Style Podcast Show. We are on every platform: iHeartRadio, YouTube, Spotify, Ghana Radio, Radio.com, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Facebook Business Page, and Apple iTunes and Google Play. Anywhere you get your podcast, even Audible, we are there. And so today we are introducing tonight the epic, the amazing USA's #1 Asian dating coach, Mr. JT Tran. He's been seen on NBC, ABC, CBS, BBC, Fox, and CNN, TNC, ZBD, TLC, everywhere. This man is phenomenal, and he is blessing us here on the Gentleman Style Podcast stage. And what he's here to talk about is how Asian persuasion, he's the people's champ for Asians, and he's helping us giving advice, tips, and all his strategies, well, some of his strategies on how you can connect and build a better relationship and have a better quality relationship and make the match, because that's something we're not doing well, right? Right, Karmea? We're not connecting in the dating world.
Right. Those puzzle pieces are not matching. We have to do better as a people if we're wanting to find the perfect person for us.
Facts. So we can't hold this man back any further ado. Help us welcome to the stage the Gentleman Style Podcast Show, Mr. JT Tran. Welcome. Sir. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing well. How about you guys?
Doing great.
Excited. I'm excited. I love talking about relationships. We just did a relationship talk a couple days ago, actually. So we are right in the mix. We are on fire and we're feeling very passionate. And we want to know, sir, you're a hot topic. And it's a very big deal especially in the Asian community. But I wanted to ask you here live, why do you think, in your professional opinion, why do you think there's been a problem in the Asian dating community? What's been going on? I've completely missed the train on this.
Well, there are a lot of issues that are going on, both like internally and externally. Like, obviously, we live in a society in the United States where, systemic institutionalized racism exists, so a lot of that historically has affected how people, particularly women to Asian men, view us. If you look at like the Hollywood media, a lot of desexualization, or even like the anti-COVID racism that was going on. Like, I've been like physically attacked like 3 times. There were times where like clubs wouldn't let us in because they look at us and they're like, oh, these Asians are Chinese, they must have COVID. And then, that's happening externally, but then internally, there is sometimes feelings of, like inferiority, if you will, where sometimes we feel like we live in society and we're not given the same sort of like chances as other, men and women are given. And so what I'm trying to do is instill into my Asian brothers is like, we are just as good as other men out there. If you want to date Black, white, Latina, like, you have every like possibility of going out there and meeting whomever you want. Like, don't let like society, racism hold you back. And I try to give them the skills to be successful.
That's facts. That's it.
So how did you happen to get into being a dating coach? How did you stumble upon this? Was this something that you feel like you were just gifted to do, or is something that you probably started like a little minor matchmaking with friends and you fell into it? What happened?
Well, I definitely view this as a calling in the fact that I never intended to do something like this. Like, I am an aerospace engineer by training, like literal rocket science, right? And I had started this blog called like the Asian Playboy blog, where I would write my adventures and my misadventures, right? I put myself out there and like the fun I was having, but also like my failures. And I was like honest about it. And I gained a following. And one of my audience was a Chinese Canadian mother whose teenage son, had been harassed by neo-Nazis in high school. And she called me up and it's like, hey, could you help out my boy? Like, he stopped going out, stopped making friends. And like, I told her like, ma'am, for 3 days and 3 nights, I'll be the big brother he never had. And she was like, "I'll fly you out there. I'll get you a hotel, and I'll pay you $100 a day." I was like thinking I was gonna do it for free, right? Just to help
Mm-hmm.
your brother. And then I was like, "Wow, I can make a living off of this." And so, I then created like the ABCs of attraction, which is a holistic system, if you will, to educate our Asian guys on like inner game, outer game, verbal game. And it just kind of like snowballed from there. Like I said, it was just because I put myself out there and there was a need. Like I said, there is internally a lack of maybe knowledge, but then external societal factors that, are outside of our control, which in the face of racism, not a lot of people can speak about it, right? Like you see in the movies, like the debonair, whoever superhero or suave like James Bond, they don't face that issue. So we were never taught growing up how to deal with that.
That's real. That's so real. So let me get this straight. I want to make sure I understand you. You and other Asians and other minorities have been attacked just simply because you are different from us. People have actually made threats against your life and attempted to hurt you physically because in the dating pool.
Yeah, like I grew up in Texas in the Dallas Fort Worth area. So I definitely got picked on, fights and things like that. Got called like all types of, racist names. And then in the dating world itself, you run to girls that like have a no Asian dating policy. And it gets really complicated because then you'll find like Asian girls with like a no Asian guy dating policy. And so it gets really complicated, right? And like I said, it's in many ways kind of got worse because of COVID, because a lot of obviously people were blaming like, oh, it's a Chinese virus. And they don't care that like I might not be Chinese, like we're all just Asian, right? And they would
That's all.
blame us. Yeah. So, while K-pop in some regards, that K-pop phenomenon has helped sort of like spread Asian masculinity and the popularity. It's a case of like two steps forward, one step back, right? So
Mm.
there has been some progress, but also some regression as well. But yeah, we've been like threatened, and like some guys get really threatened if I'm with like, a tall black or white woman, because it's not something that you see every day, right? So I stand out, and I'm 5'5", right? So I stand out, and whatever is going on in their head, I tend to trigger it.
And they can't stand it. They can't stand.
Yeah.
They've been trying to get with her since forever, and here you are side by side on a date, and they can't believe it.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
they always think like, "Hey, if she likes him, she's gonna love me because like I must be like so superior to that short Asian man, right?" Or I mean, I'm sure like, you might have experienced this if you're dating outside of your race. Like there are some guys that get triggered when they see an interracial couple. And it's usually like subtle microaggressions or like kind of like verbal harassment or kind of whispering or something like that. But sometimes I'm on a date, go to dinner, and then I go to the restroom and I come out and like literally the waiter is trying to get her number. Right. So things like that.
Really, waiter?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That
Trying to
is a
shoot his
bold
shot.
move. That's a
Yeah.
bold move, especially if they wasn't willing to make it while you were out there. Very
Yeah. Yeah.
bold.
Trying to be sneaky about it.
Just that's disrespectful. That's mad. I experienced something similar. Me and my girl just came back from vacation, and I posted her in her swimming suit walking in the water. And my girl and I are fluffy. So, but she's beautiful. She's,
Yeah.
oh my god, perfect, right? And someone inboxed the video, which comes back to me, and they're like, "Oh my god, I see how you got the jet ski in the water, but where did you get that Hummer, nigga?" That's my girl. Like, that's my woman, man. Like, are you serious? So the disrespect is real. I'm with you, Mr. Tran. I'm super, super with. People are bold, and I don't even know where the hell that comes from. Because if I would never do that to you, right? I would as a
Yeah.
man to man, I would never do that to you. If you're on a date, I respect you enough to not even approach your date. It don't matter if the date's going well, if it's going sour or what. I would never do that to you.
Yeah, I mean, like obviously there's like the online component. Everybody feels like anonymous and they can say whatever they want to say, but it definitely happens in real life. Now, I get it in the fact that I am like a smaller guy. And so people, especially men, feel emboldened, right? It's like this is as good as it gets. I'm not getting any taller. Um, and I'm not like, massive dude, even though I work out and everything like that. And so it just whatever part of that brain, primal part is like gets them competitive when they see like their race of women out dating, right? And it triggers them. And I've learned how to deal with that, what we call like amogging, right? The alpha male of the other group. And I've learned how to become an expert at like socially defending myself or like going in the offense.
Facts. Love it. Love to see it. And we're gonna talk about what you do and how you teach and coach Asian men how to be more confident and everything. But I want to ask: are there any hardwired rules when it comes to dating? Because in dating today, I'll give you a prime example. You hear, and I know you hear them, right? The 50-50, or the man pays all the bills. What are some hard truths for you? What are some and can you debunk any ones that are just like, listen, that's toxic, that's not real? But the 50-50 relationship, the man pays for dinner. I've come across women who have literally said, I don't care if it's the first date or the 100th date, the man is paying for everything because he's trying to get to know me and he's going on a date with me. Do you have any hard, fast rules for Asian men that you live by or that you encourage?
Well, with regards to paying for like the first date, yeah, in general, I would definitely recommend every guy just pay for the first date. They've done studies where it's sort of understood that when the man asks and is accepted that he'll pay for the first date. Otherwise, if it's split 50-50, the assumption then becomes it's not like a romantic date, right? Now, obviously, I think that some guys sort of like overplay their hand and they want to go to like some like bougie restaurant that they can't afford. So it's better to do it within like your means. And if you need to be creative, right? It doesn't have to be something like bougie and expensive. You can do some sort of like activity that gets the adrenaline pumping, that's exciting, like a picnic or going for something like physical. It doesn't have to be like expensive as cost is a concern. Now, like how you want to work that, like as the relationship develops and you go on to like your third, fourth date, then maybe, you might consider how equitable it can be. Again, doing it within your means, but also the other kind of like rule, quote unquote rule is I would say like 3 to 5 dates, there should be some sort of romantic sort of activity. I know I've known some students that they're on like date 20 and they haven't even kissed the girl. Like I think most American girls know by like date 3 if there's enough sexual chemistry. Like literally, like poor guy. Like I don't want to call him out, but this has happened enough times where I knew a guy that deeply in love with this girl, religious and everything like that. And he was like, this is the one. And, they're dating for like several months and like maybe month 3 or something like that. She's like, yeah, I want to have sex with you. I love you and everything like that. It's like, oh no, let's save it for marriage. And then by month 5, he found out that she cheated after month 3. Like she wasn't getting fulfilled. And he's like paying for everything. He's like paying for gifts and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, I would say most American girls know if there's by date 3, she knows if there's chemistry.
And whether it's so you corrected your student and was like, listen, man, that's bro, like pay attention. 5 months.
Like people have needs, and I get it. It's coming from a very much more conservative background, but you also have to understand, like women have needs, and she put it out there, and when he refused because like you're the one, let's save it for marriage, she went looking for her needs to be met elsewhere. I feel bad for the guy, but like this is the reality of dating in today's day and age. You can like it or not, but this is what it is.
What about Waffle House? Can I take her to Waffle House on a first date?
I mean, if
would you coach against that if I was a student?
I mean, you could if you both have a deep love
you
of
was
waffles.
risky. You was risque.
What? How?
All I'm going to say is that you better be probing for, where that woman is with her personality, what she likes and all that type of stuff. If you're going to be risky with that choice on the first time, I I love it. If you like it, I love it.
What do you think, Mr. Tran? Waffle House, yeah or nay?
In general, nay, but like I can see circumstances where it might be fun, right? If you both have a deep love for it, it's like when you understand the rules, you know when to break them, right? So that's why I'm always hesitant to say like there are rules. But again, as a newbie, if the audience here is as a newbie, yeah, Waffle House probably not the best decision for a first date.
True. Facts. Mr. JT Tran spilling the tea. Fellas, you heard it here for our Asian audience. Any watching there, the Waffle House, it's a question mark. Question mark. So feel what they say? Scan the room. Pay attention to the room. Read the room. That's what they say. Read the room. Get to know her. Because hey, if you dating Sierra loves Waffle House. Hey, millionaire loves Waffle House. So that's a good fit. But read the room, fellas. You heard it here live from JT Tran, the man, the myth, the legend himself. So that's super dope. Super dope. Is there ever were you watching the Cheesecake Factory debacle situation, that date, that scenario play out?
I think I'm familiar with it. I'm not deeply into all like the trends, but that's where the guy took her to cheesecake and she thought that was like too low class. Was
Yes.
that it?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think cheesecake is low class. I think maybe like her priorities were misaligned. Maybe she thought like, oh, it's got to have like, $4 marks on like Google, right? Where you're spending $100 plate. But sometimes you do get girls like that. And it's unfortunate. But if it happens, you know what? Just cut bait. Because I think the first date is about the experience that you have with the person. And yeah, if you have the means to make it nice, sure. But I don't think that a person should feel obligated to spend hundreds and plus dollars just to impress the other person. Make it nice, but like don't do it outside of your means.
I agree.
Fact. That's why I wanted to get your professional opinion on is like, what's the limit? Like, I don't think I've done the lavish dates, right? And I've also done the coffee dates.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what do you think, Karmea?
I'm not a coffee date person. I'm not a coffee date person, but it all depends. Like I really feel like you got to be probing to figure out what I like and what I don't like and where to take me. That would take you actually paying attention, men. I'm taking now. So that means he paid attention. So you have to figure out what I like, what I don't like, actually pay attention other than what your wants is for the moment. Hey, you got to figure out what you're dating me for too, as well. So you can see past that. But when it comes down to the restaurant situation, you could take me out to a picnic on a nice day. I like to cook. You could bring certain stuff, but what do you like to cook? I buy the groceries and you could cook it and bring the food. Like we could work together and do a picnic. It could be just that easy, but you have to know what type of person you're dealing with first.
Ooh, that's a good one. Mr. Tran, do you ever advise cooking on a date? Especially because it's a cultural, there's cultural dishes in the Asian community. So it's do you ever advise that to your students?
I think it's a good option. It isn't something that maybe you would do on the first date, kind of like what Karmea was saying, is like understand the background of the person that you're going on a date with, right? Like I've had dates where like her lifestyle, what her expectations are like up here. Another girl might be more like laid back and chill or hippie, and like it could be like just a picnic date. So understand what your means are, what you're comfortable with spending, and understand like where does this girl fall, because you can meet quality girls on either side of the spectrum, right? But going off of what you're saying is like I like to do things that also like embrace my Asian culture. As I always say, be confident because you're Asian, not in spite of it. And so I might cook a Vietnamese dish right? And show her how to eat like pho with chopsticks. But again, some Asian dishes might be a little bit too strong, a little bit too pungent, and you have to understand like maybe she has certain dietary restrictions. Like I always ask that, like, do you have any dietary restrictions? And so, like, while a girl might be adventurous, some Asian dishes, might be a little bit too adventurous. But it's cool when I do that in introducing and I'm pulling her into my world because we live in America. So obviously Americanized. But what if I can take a girl into my world, teach her Vietnamese dishes, Vietnamese language, Vietnamese culture and tradition and all that. So that way, we're meeting in the middle, so to speak, culturally. And it's just not, oh, we've got to be like 100% pure, like, middle America.
Facts. Love it. You touched on this earlier. You brought about height, and in today's world, the world of surgery, something that scared the bejesus out of me is short men are getting cosmetic surgery to increase their heights to make them more dateable. And that just shocked the bejesus out of me because the surgery is really painful, and even like the recovery is like extent. It's not a like you're gonna do the surgery to then walk out. It's like months of physical therapy, and just to be taller. And so, what advice do you give Asian men who genetically they're short, right,
Yeah.
or they're at a set height? What advice or tips? How can a short or other conventionally unattractive man build? How can he build confidence and self-worth even if he feels disadvantaged in the dating world? What advice would you give there?
Yeah, like I always say, like I might have, wanted to be born tall, dark, and handsome, but I've settled for being short, stunning, and smooth. There is
I know that's
ways
right.
to,
I
yeah,
know that's right.
there are ways to, compensate, whatever you want to call it, for being 5'5". Like, especially in America, where heightism is a real thing, where you might have like a 5 foot nothing queen with expectations of being entitled to like a 6'5" blonde, blue eyed, trust fund, white dude. And it's unfortunate, but then it's attraction, right? People have whatever they're attracted to, and you have to learn to operate and enhance what you have. So this is the idea of what I say is like bringing a command presence, right? And a lot of that is like your body language, your approach. This is also why I prefer in person way more than online. Like we still teach it, right? But in person, I can defeat any sort of like stereotypes that she might have when it comes to race or height, and present myself and get her like, enraptured with me and build off of that. Right now, for quick sort of like tips, if you will, um, you can get like elevator shoes. They give you like 2 to 3 inches. Those are extremely popular in Asia. Like in America, there's like a stigma associated with it, but it's like super popular in Asia. Like pretty much anybody that goes out will wear like elevator shoes. And if you think about like even in America, there are a lot of shoes that give a guy like 2 inches. A lot of like modern day sneakers, the Yeezys, they give a guy 2 inches, right?
Yeah.
For me, it doesn't really matter. And that 5'5", there's not much difference between 5'5" and 5'7". Like I'm still short. I'm still short, right?
Right.
Having a bigger personality, and I don't mean by being obnoxious, but being willing to present yourself to getting attention, drawing attraction to you. This could be presented in your style. I tend to dress when I go out in a style that gives me an edge. Nothing like too crazy, but still enough where people will notice me and compliment me, right? I don't want to blend in. Unfortunately, a lot of short guys or Asian guys want to just blend in and not be noticed. I want to be noticed. Like it's literally in the word attraction. I want women to be attracted to me, which means they're going to be looking at me, staring at me, and wondering when is it their turn that I'm going to talk to her. So,
I know
yeah,
that's
there
right.
are ways to compensate for it, just having a command presence.
So change your style. So that's one way. So how does body language? Do you have any tips on body language? Things I can do? Should I puff up my chest? Shouldn't slouch? Should I lean into her? Right? Should I do the mirroring technique? Any strategies you give for men to use body language and fight back against the psychology that someone may have, the perceived psychology in attracting women? How can men harness those skills, and how, any tips there?
Yeah, body language plays a very large part in how confident you're perceived, how big you are. So there are a lot of things that you just named, like standing tall, or even having hair that goes upward instead of like downward, like upper hair kind of giving you the appearance of being taller, shoulders back. I also use like a lot of like facial expressions and hand movements, deliberate hand movements, not like, nervous ticks, but when I'm talking to person, I'll go up to girl, I might, touch her just to get her attention, showing that I am not scared of touch, but I'm doing it appropriately. And when I'm engaging her, like I bring enough energy to the circumstance, to that situation, calibrate to her and where we are, where she feels like this wash of energy, if you will, and it is overwhelmed by, by my presence that I'm bringing to her. Like I've had so many girls, you know, that did not realize, like they've told me, like they emotionally did not realize I was shorter than them, right? Because
Mm,
I physically, I guess, emotionally felt bigger to them, and that was because of the way I acted.
that's
I've
gold.
definitely, I've definitely heard and seen, experienced that. Not realizing that someone is shorter than you because of the way that they carry themselves. That's a big thing. I
Yeah.
had no clue that you were shorter than me, for real, because I'm 5'6" and a quarter. And yes, I take that quarter seriously. Don't do that. Don't, y'all laughing too hard for me.
Sorry.
The quarter's taken. And so I'm 5'6" and a quarter. But I have dealt with, talked to people who were shorter than me, and I'm like, I didn't even realize it, because they don't carry that on their shoulders. They hold themselves to a certain standard. They carry themselves well. They speak well, and they seem like they don't have not one insecurity, even though I know all of us as humans have one. They are not carrying it outside. If that, on the exterior where I can see it.
That's dope.
Yeah, that's what I encompass in like the idea of like command presence. It's in both the external, like how you carry yourself, how you dress, the body language that you touched upon, but also internal, right? Your own emotions, your thoughts, because that's what's happening here, and in your emotions is going to be conveyed physically, right? So we want to have a very very well-rounded presence, so to speak.
For sure.
Mhm.
Do you have any chants or any mantras that you tell your students to like chant in their mind to build more self confidence? Are there any kind of like mojo sayings that you give them? Any words of wisdom, like, hey, chant this in your head, say this to yourself, put this on your window.
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple things that you can do, right? There is a psychological trick where if you simply count down from five, you just go like five, four, three, two, one, you approach a girl. And the idea is you're lighting up your prefrontal cortex as opposed to your basal ganglia, right? Because numbers are an abstract thought, right? Numbers don't exist in the real world. So animals can't think in terms of numbers, but we as humans, because we're more highly evolved, do think in terms of numbers. So that forces us to stop thinking with that lizard part of our brain, that fear thing. So when when this lights up, you're going to experience less anxiety. So simply like counting five, four, three, two, one, or the reframing of rejection, right? If
Mhm.
a person rejects you for whatever reason, like internally you just go like, yes, it's just like, yes, right? And in that way we have positive emotions associated with the word yes, right? Not that anybody enjoys being rejected, but instead of being like, "Oh, she rejected me," like, "Yes!" Like that is just one, step closer to, success. Don't treat things like, defeat or failure. Just it's just one step closer to success.
Love that. Huge, huge.
Mm.
JT Tran, y'all. That's huge. Control, command the room, have a commanding presence. Don't be rude, right? Don't be rude.
Mhm.
You ain't gotta be a jerk, right? You can command the room and be that big, that ash. What's it? What did he say earlier? The alpha male, that alpha male presence earlier, right? Without being a jerk. So
Very
Yeah,
true.
yeah. Like I'm not necessarily a big proponent of the entire like alpha male kind of evolutionary psychology, although it's very popular in like Western culture. But it's definitely the idea of like make yourself known, because like so many Asians, and I'm sure you have friends like this as well, that think if they just put their head down and be like demure and not outspoken, then maybe they'll get their just desserts. And in America, the expectation is like you are going to be loud, you're going to be assertive, and you are going to demand what you deserve, right? And so, it is like speak your truth, stand up for yourself, get what you
Yes.
want. Just don't, you don't have to be shy. In fact, it can be in many regards hurtful. So, command the room, don't be an ass, but command the room.
Facts.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about being called the Asian Playboy? That's Hugh Hefner, man. Yeah, that's
Yeah. Well, that was the blog I created. I call it the Asian Playboy blog. And back in those days, I had experimented with trying to date because, aerospace engineer, making six figures, drove a Mercedes, lived on the beach, and like on paper, I was the perfect boyfriend, right? Like on paper, but I couldn't get a date for the life of me. Like I even had to, um, I did like eHarmony, and you had to pay a membership, and then you
right.
take a personality test. And I got a refund back from eHarmony because they said, like, you know what?
No.
We can't find you a mate with you're like way too cerebral, way too analytical. So here's your money back.
What?
So they rejected me.
What?
And so I'm like
I've
thinking,
never heard
wow,
about them rejecting.
yeah, it's like
Wow.
eHarmony wouldn't even take me. So that's how bad I was getting. So I fell into the world of like studying psychology, communication, pickup, all of that. And I created a blog called Asian Playboy because what was important to me was like, I'm Asian. That's part of my identity. I know some people like run away from being Asian, but like, that is my identity. I embrace it. I'm not ashamed of it. And then I was like, you know what? I want to be a Playboy. So I just kind of smashed that together. And it was interesting. It was like, it was such a huge juxtaposition. It surprised so many people, that name alone, that it gained a following, because you never see that. What do you see in the media, right? You never saw someone that was remotely like an Asian Playboy. So unbeknownst to me, by quite accident, I created like this brand that sort of like took off, that really fired people's imagination.
Dope. It's the simplest things, though. It's the simplest things that is within ourselves. When did you first notice? Go ahead, Karmea. Sorry.
No, I was going to ask. I was going to switch a little bit towards the dating. What are some? What is another general misconception do you think that the men run into when they're going through their dating process?
I mean, obviously there are a lot, right? I think for the audience that I typically cater to, who are educated, successful Asian guys that spend a lot of time getting a good education, good career, money, all of that, and they think that automatically having a good career, money, all of that, that they're going to land a woman. It's just going to happen. But in the reality, all that means is you're just at the starting line with everyone else. Like you have to bring more to the table. And sitting there thinking that, hey, if I have a good degree, a good job, then it'll just come to me. That's not really how it works, unless you happen to be like blessed with like good looks and women throwing themselves on you. You still have to be very proactive. In many regards, you have to be even more proactive nowadays, because there seems to be like a very rising culture of guys not being encouraged to approach and somehow go to online dating. But there have been multiple studies that have showed like online dating is very unfavorable against Asian men. And like I said, I find it way easier to make that happen in real life. So guys who might be listening is like, just don't think that having money, girls are going to be attracted to you. I've had enough clients that had like some serious cash and it did nothing to help them.
Wow. So money doesn't matter.
I mean, it matters, but
Whoa.
it doesn't matter in every regards.
Make sure you catch that. Wait a minute.
It matters to Karmea.
I'm not saying that's like, but whoa. Like there's an old saying that it came from a movie, but I definitely understood it as growing up. You know, this comes from House Party 3. I don't know if you ever saw that movie, but basically from House Party 3, you have a character who says, "Back in my day, we didn't have romance without finance."
Ah,
And I come from my parents are more old school. Like my mother, unfortunately, she's passed, and my dad, he's still here. They're older, but they come from that type of mindset too. Like, hey, we shouldn't even be talking about dating if the finances are not in order.
yeah.
So that's where I come from. So like, hey, it's a level of importance there. I'm not saying that money cures all, but they got to be somewhere in that foundation.
Yeah, for sure. It's sort of like on the opposite spectrum of Asian culture, where a lot of us, obviously not all, but a lot of us were driven to be successful, right? To go to college, to get that career, and then assume the romance would simply happen because you've got like, decent finances. And when it comes to men, especially Asian guys, it requires more than finances. It requires the ability to communicate, to approach a complete stranger, to present his personality in such a way that says like, hey, I'm the full package. I'm funny, I'm outgoing, I'm confident, I'm masculine, sexual. Oh, and I have a great career, right? A lot of Asian guys, we're taught to objectify ourselves where we're only worth our wallet, right? It's like, once I have money, everything else will come to me. That's not how it works, right?
Facts. Fact. I met a older gentleman, much older gentleman, who was married to his wife, where they met in Canada, and she had shared with me. She's like, he's not emotional at all. He's not a touchy feely guy. He's not the I love you guy, right? And every time she brings it up, she's like, why don't you hold my hand? Why don't you tell me you love me? And he's like, you have my wallet, don't you? You have access to my money, right? And it's like, that means I love you. To him, that's like that means I love you. I don't need to say it. I don't need to show you physically. You have access to my money. That means I love you. So
it sort of like goes back to like what they call like the 5 love languages.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
We've heard of those. Like in this particular case is gifts, right? But there are other love languages: touch, time spent, acts of service, words of affirmation, things like that. And for a lot of Asians, it's like, oh, giving, or service is their way of like expressing love. But one thing is, when you're in a relationship, it's important to understand what your partner's words of love language is.
Love languages.
Yeah, I've had girls that for them it's very important for like words of affirmation, to be told they're beautiful, to be told all of that. For me, it doesn't matter. Like, a person can compliment me, I'm like, oh, thanks, but it doesn't like really emotionally affect me. Like, I'm more of like acts of service kind of guy, but I understand it's important to her, so I make it to meet where she is at, and I would hope that she would try to meet me where I'm at as well.
Super dope. JT Tran, the Asian dating coach, the Asian love doctor, Playboy himself. We are going to a quick commercial break. Speaking of reciprocity, we are going to go to a quick commercial break. We got to pay some bills. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Baby Gear Services DMV specializes in high-quality baby gear rentals in the Maryland and DC metro area. We have a wide range of baby gear items for rent, including wooden cribs, car seats, high chairs, and more. We also offer seasonal specials and free delivery. Our prices are very versatile to cover every budget. Wooden cribs start at $17 a day, high chairs and even car seats start at $5 a day. Check out our website, www.bgsdmv.com.
Hey guys, this is your boy Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast Show, and we are here in Patrick Henry Mall, Newport News, Virginia. We're actually here for something unique just inside. Something new, brand new that we want to explore together. You guys ready? All right, here we go. Hey, boss. Heard you were an athlete, man. See you at the mall every day. We are at Patrick Henry Mall, living up, and we are talking about CBD. But first off, The normal thing that we all deal with is joint pain, back pain, suffer from everything.
Neck pain too.
Neck pain?
Yep.
You got some neck pain?
All the time, man. I'm getting up in age, you know what I'm saying? We're not young no more.
I'm with you. I'm totally with you. Bruh, CBD helps with the exact same thing. Neck pain, back pain, joint pain, all the pains, everywhere pain, right? And so that's what CBD does. That's what we're here to help you and me do. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
Thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
All right.
CBD is one of the most powerful cannabinoids because all it's focused on is the health and wellness. We're talking helping people with anxiety, depression, insomnia, sleep deprivation, all provided. CBD works with the natural mechanics of your body without the crazy side effects of Western medicine. So these products are here to actually align your body and get it back right so we can actually have a better quality of life. And that's what CBD does.
Support for Gentleman Style Podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming champions of the world. Manscaped offers you precision engineering tools for your family jewels. Manscaped just launched their 4th generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, the 4.0. Join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off free worldwide shipping with the code GENTSTYLE at manscaped.com.
We are back to the Gentleman Style Podcast Show. We have the man, the myth, the Asian Playboy himself, the love doctor himself on the Gentleman Style Podcast Show. And it is your favorite host, Marcus, and
Karmea Wells, the unorthodox Southern Belle.
And Mr. JT Tran spilling the tea on the Asian dating community and how we can do better and helping us, giving us advice. I think this is powerful stuff. If you missed it, if you missed anything he has laid down, go back, scroll back and check him out. He is absolutely dynamic. He shocked me with the hair, right? And as a black man, I can't do I did the Jerry curl thing in high school. It didn't last. It was a phase. I was going through something. It was a dark part in my life. We ain't gonna talk about it. But that was the science of that, right? Making my hair taller to stand out and make me more appealing, especially in the Asian community, if I'm a shorter man. So that was huge, Mr. Tran. That was huge in that aspect. I want to talk about the sex, right? I want to touch on the sex. What tips do you teach your students? Do you coach to? Do you tell your men, hey, be open? Go. She want to eat the groceries, eat the groceries. Does she want to go full on exploration, or do you tell them be a little bit more reserved, be a gentleman? What are some tips that you have given to your students to help them out do better in the bedroom?
Well, with my students, again, my clientele being potentially less experienced, let's put it that way, I always tell them, spend about 20 minutes on foreplay. Just getting her like really turned on, hitting like their erogenous zones, maybe doing a little bit of erotic dirty talk. Nothing too exotic, right?
The ladies love it. The ladies loving it.
Yeah, you don't want to go overboard, especially if you're not that experienced with it. But like just foreplay, because sometimes if you're rusty or maybe you're really inexperienced, you might not last that long. So give her a really good time, because a girl, especially if it's her first time with a new guy, can be very difficult for her to even be capable of climaxing unless like the sexual chemistry is off the charts. And one way to do that is just spend 20 minutes on foreplay, whether it's like cavemaning where you just kind of like pick her up and throw her on the bed, or push her against the wall,
WWE style.
Yeah, I mean, it's like out of like 50 Shades of Grey, right? Because women love that feeling of dominance. Again, once you're ready to go in that bedroom. So I always tell the guys, spend time on her. And you spend time on her, you don't need to be too concerned about yourself, because if you are literally, turning her on so much, her brain like shuts down, like she's going to take care of you, right? So, spend the time on her and you'll get what you deserve.
Facts. You talked about in your earlier experiences dating some wins and some faux pas. Can you share some wins and some faux pas in the earlier beginning stages of your dating experience before you became the illustrious Asian Playboy? Can you can you talk about that, or is that too embarrassing?
Sure. I mean, I've experienced a whole bunch of things like rejection. I've had girls, just blow me off specifically because I was like Asian. I mean, I've had girls like use racist slurs against me.
What?
No.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, it happens, right? Like, again, we live in
yeah.
America, it's a race-based society. I think in my experience, and this is what's allowed me, I guess, to be confident, if you will, is I'm always able to reframe it. Back in the day, I would have like been absolutely hurt for sure because it can be absolutely devastating. But now I take that experience and I just turn it into something more positive and something more constructive. Um, I mean, I can tell like an experience of like a student of mine who had approached a girl, got her number and everything like that, set up a date, and she like really like it's a sorority pretty, right? And he was so excited to go pick her up at like, wherever she was living. And when he knocked on the door, like her and I guess her roommate opened it and they just started laughing at him. Like, oh, did you really think girls like us were to go on a date with you?
That's
You
messed up.
know?
Oh,
So
Disrespect.
yeah. And then, like things like I've been stood up and it just feels horrible. Like, what did I do wrong? Here I'm trying to do like the best that I can. Or one thing, and I'm sure girls are going to disagree with this. I'm quite sure girls are going to disagree with this, right? But every time I've bought a girl flowers, she's broken up with me. And here in America. Here in
right.
America.
Well, I don't. I I don't know what that's
Let
about.
him
It all
cook.
depends.
No, let him cook. Let him cook.
I
Like
know.
Say that one more time, Mrs. Before come here.
I
Before
don't.
you go,
I
say
don't
that
want to
one more
Kanye
time.
West. I'm gonna let you finish.
yeah, it's just like when I've bought girls flowers that every single time they've broken up with me, right? And I remember one time a girl, like her grandfather had passed away. Now I get it, traumatic. And I was trying to just be like, hey, here's, send you some flowers, you know, and whether it's that combination of it coming up as too simpy or the trauma of her grandfather passing away, she broke up with me. It's happened other times too, though. It wasn't just a one-off deal. Now, when I've been overseas, I bought girl flowers. And it's like it's chivalrous, it's romantic, but somewhere along the line here in America, it's become a symbol, I guess, of simpness, if you will. Now, it's I'm not talking about like if you're in a long-term committed relationship, it's just you and him for like years. Here we're still in like the first maybe 3 to 6 months of dating. But for whatever reason, anytime I've bought an American Girl flowers,
Toxic femininity. That is fine.
I
Go
don't
ahead,
know
Karmea.
why. As I was about to say, I didn't want to Kanye West him. I was gonna let him finish. Um, I don't. I'm not sure what type of. I think there are females out there who think that like I don't know where they get that mindset from that those type of things are making a man seem simpy or whatsoever.
Cardi B and Sexy
I
Red.
really think y'all should date different types because it sounds like to me that's not it. They're not it because there are plenty of women who love those chivalrous gestures. There's plenty of women who love those. And then you got the ones who be like, oh, he's simpy or he's weird. I don't know about all that. He's doing too much. And I'm like, I don't, for those type of women, leave them right there. Leave them on red. Leave them in the parking lot. They shouldn't be going anywhere. I really think that people should, when they're looking for the type of person that they want, they have to look at the person fully, not just at their looks, not just at what they want out of them or trying to get out of them. You got to figure out like I said, what you're dating a person for. But that I've heard of, don't get me wrong, I've heard of that. But being that I'm a female and I hear females talking, those type of females, thank God I'm not friends with those types anymore. But listening to them, they're not really mature yet. they hardly know what they want either. They're just out here playing the game until they get to a point of, I'm tired of this. I want somebody to love me. And I bet you had 3 or 4 of them. you had a roster full. You said that they was weak. You said that they were simps. You said that they was too sweet. And I'm confused, like, your time, not saying, ladies, when I say this, I don't mean this in any mean way. Time is running out for all of us. We are all on the clock. But when you sit here and you're throwing, I just feel like when the universe is sending you great people and you keep on throwing them down the drain, how you expect them to send you anymore?
Yeah.
It's running out.
It's crazy. Really quick, I'll share mine. I was dating a girl who lived in the adjacent city state from me. And that's what we were doing. We were on that vibe in the courtship where we were sending each other stuff. She had sent me gifts. I was sending her gifts. And so she sent me a gift to my house, to my residence where I lived. And then I wanted to respond. And so, like Mr. Tran and his students, I send flowers. I grew up that way. Sending flowers. And that was kind, that was chivalrous, that was beautiful. And I asked the girl, like literally, I asked the girl for her address so I could send her a gift. I didn't tell her it was flowers or what. I just said, hey, you sent me a gift. I want to respond in kind. I'd like to send you a gift. She sends me her address. Now, she lived in North Carolina, which is about 2-3 hours from me. She sent me, so she gives me her address on the way while I'm driving down to North Carolina because I have a business. I have a cannabis dispensary down there and I have an ATM down there. So I was already going there. When she texts me the address, I plugged it into GPS, it literally said she was 5 minutes away from my ATM. So in my mind, my rational brain, I said, well, instead of me paying probably $100 plus $25-$30 extra to cover the cost of the delivery service, I'll just go pick up the flowers and deliver it myself and spend $100, right? Logical thinking. So I show up to her house with the flowers in my hand and I give it to her. I don't enter the house. I don't immediately breaks up with me, has a whole conniption because I showed up to the house instead of the delivery man that you're not dating. She has a whole fit and breaks up with me and has issue because I showed up to her address that she gave me. Craziness. So, Mr. Tran, sir, I'm with you, man. It's stupid.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Things that were chivalrous don't make no sense no more.
Yeah. I mean, I obviously wish it was different, right? Because again, I was raised like, oh, you should do things like that. And I enjoy doing things like that, but it's no longer, fashionable, if you will. I mean, it is what it is. That's the way a lot of people view it now. So unfortunately, you got to take it off the table, at least for me and my experience.
That's fair. So you mentioned dating apps. Do you what methods do you teach your students? Do you recommend the traditional way, meeting people at the club, meeting people at social events, meeting people at bars, meeting people online? Do you encourage Facebook dating? Where do you typically suggest Asian men connect with women?
I think that the strongest, most powerful, most effective is in real life, whether it's nighttime, daytime. Like I said, like you can come off as significantly more commanding in person as opposed to like dating apps where women can filter by height, right? It's also sort of like it's sort of a subtle form of like racism too, right? If they say like only 5'10", that weeds out like the majority of like Asian and Hispanic men, right? But at the same time, there are ways to optimize your Tinder profile. So even if you aren't like the most good looking guy on Tinder, like you can get, some dating opportunities. And in that regards, I always tell guys, when you take pictures, have like a professional photographer, someone who actually knows how to take pictures, but think from like the female gaze versus the male gaze, right? It comes from a cinema term, but like it's entered everyday parlance. Where the male gaze is like we look at the object and then zoom out. So we look at a woman, we see her breast, we see her butt, whatever, right? That's us guys, right? That's just how we are. And then we zoom out and then we see the person. Women are like kind of the opposite. So what a lot of guys do is they think women think like us, but obviously that's not true. And so he'll like stand in the mirror and he'll take like a selfie. It's like, oh, I'm going to show off my muscles and my abs, right? And what the woman sees, and Karmea can correct me if I'm wrong, what she sees is a dirty bathroom with a dirty mirror with some college kid. She's thinking, okay, maybe he's got a nice body, but this college kid, you know, spends all his money on, you know, creatine. So maybe he's a good role if I'm horny, but like this guy got none of the finances that you're talking about. His life isn't put together, right?
Right.
And so the idea is like, instead of doing that, go to the beach, like during the golden hour when the lighting is really good, lay at a yoga mat, strike a yoga pose, right? Being shirtless, and you've accomplished the same thing. But now there's a story around it. Now she can say like, okay, this guy, he seems to be outdoorsy, maybe spiritual, athletic, has a nice body. Oh, that beach looks beautiful, the landscape, everything like that. And it tells a story that she can fill in the blanks, right? So think from the female gaze when you take your photos.
We need it, exactly what JT said. We need you to put as much effort into your photos and videos as we do to post. You hear what? Don't give us that halfway stuff. Don't give us the picture that it'd be like you oiled up like the oil from P. Diddy. You got all the oil everywhere. You got hey, you showing everything, and then we looking in the background like, oh my God, why his tub look like that? Why does it look like that? Like he could have closed the curtain. I would have seen none of that. But all he was focused on was that main thing. If she see this, no, I can't see you because I'm seeing your background. Your background doesn't match the front, and it's a problem for me. It's a major problem for me. I need the scene to fit the object and the object to fit the scene. Please help.
Yeah, every picture tells a story, so you have to curate it, and that's where a lot of guys, you know, make that mistake. Is they just think they'll just take some sort of bathroom selfie and think, oh, call it a day. But it takes, you know, as Karmea was saying, like put some effort into it. Just like girls spend, you know, on average like 40 minutes getting ready to go out. Put some effort into it.
Look at that.
That's why I say also about pictures. Like you ask your, like say for example, I'll ask my friend who's a female, girl, take my picture real quick. She gonna make sure the angle's right. She gonna make sure I'm in the right area. Girl, move over here. That brick wall ain't doing it for us. Move over here. The guy just gonna take the pictures like, what the hell? What was you looking at? I took the picture. It's nice. No, it's not. The light is not right. You didn't say nothing about this going on in my background. Like there's so much going on besides me. We're taking it over again. Yeah, because you can't seem to get the vision right. So we're doing it all over.
Yeah, we got to be like girlfriend trained, like to understand how to pose, the composition of the background. It takes some doing, you know, especially if they're not used to it, right? But this is why I recommend, if for your Tinder whatever profile, get a photographer, get like a professional photographer to do it.
Facts. JT Tran spilling the tea. This man in New Orleans, shirtless, killing us.
But you see how he has the background. It's like everything fits. It tells a story. It's giving. He's somebody who likes to me. He likes to go different places. He's he likes to be maybe possibly outside, adventurous in a way.
Yeah.
So it's telling a story. It's interesting. He's not just focused on one thing, and his background looks.
She was about to jump through the camera.
Because I've seen it so many times, and I'd be like, "You possibly couldn't have thought that was okay to post. Can't be." And then I'll see females just roast in the comments. Roast, light them up, light these men up.
I feel you.
But it just goes to show you like the big difference in the way men and women think, and you know, like we're raised. So sometimes, like I'll be honest, even with my experience, if I can understand 40% of what a woman is thinking. Like, I call that a good day. That's a good day. Right?
That's progress.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a big number. That's a hard number because they're complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So y'all can sit here 2 out of 3 and do this.
Y'all complicated. Mr. Tran.
Y'all childish.
We are. Your method to your, there's a science. You call it the ABCDEF system.
Yeah.
How does it guide men, Asian men, to dating success? Can you touch on your methodology here?
Yeah, it's a simple acronym, ABCDF, that is, it's like a mnemonic device where it incorporates 3, call it game, if you will, like inner, this is like how you think and how you feel, and then your physical, like how you present yourself, your actions, and then what you actually say, right? So for example, A is like attitude. What is the attitude that you're coming in? And then attract, like how do you build attraction, your body language, and then your actual approach, what you actually say to the girl. And so at each step of the way, from attitude, A, B, C, D, E, F, it goes all the way from A and all the way to F. And I'm sure we can all figure out what F stands for, right? But it gives a very easy device to remember by, such that you're trying to progress the romance forward instead of being one of the guys that's just like talky all the time, right? As much as women might love to talk, the man still has to progress it. There has to be more than just talking. There has to be like action, if you will. But also you have to, at a certain point, be the one that's doing the less talking and having her open up, having her try to connect with you, because it needs to be a two-way street. So we work on like the mental, emotional part, we work on the physical part, and we work on like the verbal aspect as well.
Huge. This has been an epic conversation. This is huge. This is phenomenal. And this is a powerful topic. I love this. Karmea, you got anything? You got any final thoughts from Mr. Tran?
This was a great episode. I was happy for you to come up here and give a new insight. Really, I am. And it's not, it's not biased. It's something that, everybody can learn from.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love the energy you guys bring. It's really fun.
Thank you.
We
work hard. We the hardest
hard for the money, honey.
Mr. Tran, thank you for sharing. Thank you for giving back, and thank you for what you do, man. Thank you for what you do, because it takes courage, it takes enthusiasm, it takes motivation, because you could have given up, right? You could have given up at the first rejection. You could have given up at the first letdown. You could have given up on the first time they laughed in your face about you thought we would date you, but you didn't. You kept persisting, you kept pushing, and now here you are helping so many people, so many Asian men get their confidence back. So thank you for what you do.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Powerful. How can people connect? You are a train that has left the station, but it's not too late to get on board. So how can people connect with you? How can people find what you? How can people get on board and learn what you're doing and get their confidence back?
Yeah, they can just go to our website, www.abcsofattraction.com. And we do primary live service programs called boot camps, but we also have like an online component. And anyone's interested, they can sign up for a 30-day free trial of our academy. They go to like abcsofattraction.com/academy/special, 30 days free. Check it out. Advanced videos, in-field videos, get a taste and see if you actually like what you see.
Love it. Check him out, y'all. Connect. That's dope. Powerful. Put it back out on the screen one more time. Y'all connect for our audio listeners. ABCSofattraction.com. I jacked that up. That was messed up. But ABCSofattraction.com. Check them out. Connect. Get on board and schedule that and get your confidence back. Get your confidence back, fellas. Like we end every show. Take care of your friends. Take care of your family. And always, take care of business. This is Marcus, your favorite gentleman, and
Karmea Wells, an unorthodox Southern belle,
and Mr.
JT Tran, your Asian dating coach.
Asian Playboy Phenom. Love you guys. Bye.